I am Jim Collison, and this is the Wellbeing at Work with CliftonStrengths podcast recorded on March 9th, 2022. In this CliftonStrengths podcast, we'll look at the strengths, insight, and action planning items from Appendix 1 in the Gallup book, Wellbeing at Work, one theme at a time. And today's theme is input. If you're listening live, love to have you join us in our chat room. Just a link right above me to jump in there. Or if you're listening after the fact and you have questions, you can always send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jacqueline Robinson is our host today. She works as a Gallup Learning and Development Consultant and was the primary contributor to Appendix 1 in the Wellbeing at Work book that we're talking about. Jacqueline, always great to see you, and welcome back.
Thanks, friend. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Let's dig in on input. Let's start with that definition.
Okay. For those that have input, you tend to need to collect and archive. So those with input may accumulate information, ideas, artifacts, or even relationships.
And how does that, as we think about this theme, how does it relate to you? And then how does it relate to others?
If I think about how it relates to you, acquiring knowledge or resources that could serve useful to you in the future likely enhances your sense of preparedness and credibility. Even collecting memories from a travel adventure or outing can serve a useful purpose down the road for providing context or color to a specific topic. And then, in terms of how it relates to others, when individuals and teams are looking for resources, they know they can count on you to have that information or to know who does have the information. So you're that trusted resource and credible advisor.
I love that. I often think for me, folks with high input that I need are those who collect solutions, which is like, hey,
Oh, that's good.
there are certain things that I've checked out or that I know that work, and those
Mm-hmm.
are my go-to kind of things for it. And so I think that's just super helpful. There's people like that who like, yeah, this works, and they collect those things, which I
Yes.
think is super helpful. We've of course are focusing on well-being during this series,
Mm-hmm.
and as we think about this theme in a thriving state and in a struggling state, what contrast those for me?
Yes. So thriving is when you're viewed as a trusted, credible resource for others and have the opportunities to provide information that can be helpful and and applicable. Struggling is when you feel like you have valuable insights or information to offer, and you're either not able to speak to it or people
Mhm.
just don't want to hear it. I think that's when it's like, just listen, listen to what I have to say. I've got the resources available.
This is the same thing. Is that the same thing if they don't receive it well, or if they don't, they just won't take it? Like, hey, I've got
Yes.
these. I've collected it for this rainy day. I want to give it to you, and they're like, nah, I don't need it. I
Yes.
mean, is
I'm good. No, I'm good. But wait, yes.
yeah. Well, I mean, that
It
is,
feels almost restrictive, I think, when you have to kind of pull back on the information you might want to provide to someone.
yeah. I think of it like it's sometimes in terms, at our church we have at the end, we've got some people. If you need to talk to somebody, they're just that's what they do. They're just available, right?
Mhm.
And I always tell people, like, don't be afraid to go see them, that they like this. They
That's
like doing this.
yes,
They
that's
wouldn't
such a
say
good
yes if they
example.
didn't like doing it. And I think same with input in some ways. It's like they like, for some, this may be
Mhm.
different, and maybe we can chat about this mid show at the chat room. I think in some ways that's their gift. They want to give it
Mhm.
back out. Like, hey, I kept this for a reason, and it's right now. Like, let's
Yes. I like that, and it's right now.
let's do something with this, right? So,
Yes.
well, we've got some examples in Appendix 1. We've got some examples by one of our well-being, one of the well-being pillars. Can you talk a little bit about
Mhm.
that in the context of input?
Yes, for input, I chose financial well-being. I thought that
Mm,
would be a fun one. Since this person loves collecting and sharing information, they might thrive when asked to study investment options for their colleagues and report those discoveries to the group. So, for this, if I pull back a moment, think about someone with futuristic and input. If we start to do a theme combo,
mm,
they
mm,
might be really interested in what the future holds for investments. So, they
mm,
might be
mm,
um, already pulling resources on cryptocurrency and NFT and are willing to share it. But if someone maybe
mm,
has context and input, it could look different. And they're thinking about downturns we've had in the past and how to stabilize in the here and now, or where to invest your money when there is a downturn. Um, so maybe even just as I think about theme dynamics, I think there's a value add there and how they might provide valuable resources.
Mm. How do you think that plays? So we always talk about the me versus we, and we've
Mhm.
talked a lot about the we already with input. That's a kind of a natural give those things away,
Mhm.
advice, stuff, solutions, whatever that is, whatever that happens to be. What does that look like internally, do you think, for the me? How does an input, like in a from a financial well-being standpoint, what do you think a input can do for their own well-being?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, the output is once you have that knowledge, you're able to see that in your investments as they build and rise.
Mhm,
So I think there's a little bit of excitement that comes from that. And even if you're able to share that with your financial advisor
mhm,
or your partner or someone else who likes to talk about investments, even though it's for you, you get to talk about it or you get to see that growth happen and share
mm.
it out.
Yeah. I think maybe the satisfaction of completeness in knowing, "Hey, I've got enough to give away," or "I've
Mhm.
got enough for me," right? In that satisfaction of knowing, "Yeah, I've for whatever that is, I have what I need." And so maybe a
Mhm.
great opportunity there. We have 4 other elements, and I think these are just great for coaches, and individuals to go through, look at those, work through those elements. We got 4 more in the back of the book and some great tools to be able to do that as well. So, Jacqueline, with this idea of input, how do you think, kind of back to now others, how do you think we use it to
Mhm.
support others?
Well, if you're a manager, you're leading a team, when it comes to opportunities to help someone learn and grow, this is where your resourcefulness knows no bounds. You could refer them to powerful partners or mentors, or you could share different courses or resources you know of that are connected to their career development plan. So this is where you know no bounds, and you can really help them with people resources or continuing education resources or whatnot to further their career development. If you're on a team, one thing to consider is what does the team currently need that could enhance their efficiency and knowledge? So if you've already gathered some hard to find and scattered information that would also be beneficial to the team, you could consider adding that to a team public folder for everyone's benefit. And then if I think about you as an individual, think about what information or artifacts you're desiring more of. And to create more of a social experience for yourself, identify a person in your network with knowledge who would be more than happy to give you those insights, as opposed to going right to the library or going down that Google rabbit hole, so that you can really just, find enhanced energy and enthusiasm with someone
Mhm,
else where you could get that knowledge from.
mhm. Yeah, and I love that idea of someone with high input being a subject matter expert. So as we
Hmm.
think of that on a team of bringing that collective knowledge or bringing that
Yeah.
collective resources, or I had a car when I was young and we had no money and I had a car breakdown. I was living out in California at the time, and we're thinking like, how are we gonna? I mean, it was a significant part, and a buddy at church said, "Oh, I got that." I was like, "What?" You He's like, "Oh, yeah, I can totally take care of it. Bring it over tonight, and we'll just replace it." And wouldn't let me pay him for it, and, I mean, it was like that was a great day for him, and
Yeah.
it would have almost been worse if I tried to pay for him or tried to pay him back. It was so beneficial, right? It
Just like
filled that
hands.
need, right, for him, and we all know
Hmm.
people who have that and are like, "Oh, yeah, no, I got it. I totally got that thing. I've got that cable," or "I've got that," right, whatever, or I've got that experience. We've done these. I've been collecting these experiences, and we've done these things before. Here's some options for you. So I think that's
It's a good
pretty great as
feeling.
we think about that. In Appendix 2, we spent some time walking through the framework for each of these themes, and what let's take it make I think again another great exercise for coaches or individuals or those even embedded in, like, taking some of
Hmm.
these and doing them in your organization. I think a great opportunity. Walk us through that with input.
Yeah. So with input, ask yourself, would my team benefit from additional information about our purpose and goals, especially now that people are focused on mission and purpose and what does 2022 look like for us? Ask your team members, what shared community interests do we have? So again, maybe there's a bridge to connect purpose and community. And then taking action is identify someone with a shared mission who encourages your growth and spend more time with them. So you could do this as a team. You could even do this personally.
Mm. Jacqueline, as we think about input and we kind of wrap this up, as we think about the
Hmm.
last couple years, and certainly, we're recording this March of 2022, and the world hasn't gotten any easier in the last month, right? As we just think about what's going on around the globe.
Hmm.
How for folks with input, how do you think kind of dealing with this stress, this stuff that's happening? Where do you think I mean, what kind of advice can is on our way out here? What kind of advice do you think you could give them on some ways that they could really use this theme to both
Mm.
benefit those around them and maybe themselves?
Hmm. Gosh, in a variety of ways. So those with input might have a collection of well-being resources that help them de-stress, that would help their teams and their partners and family members unwind. Others are looking for ways to support overseas. And so they might already know of a collection of resources where people can give their time or their money or their energy to support.
Mm,
Um, I think even going back to I think even if they think about the community and going back to some of those ask yourself, ask others, even from a non-work space, it's what kind of opportunities do you want to have or get yourself involved in your community?
mm,
And they might know just, oh, the Chamber of Commerce could support, or have you checked out this community? X organization that we see across the world that could end up making them feel like they're doing something more to connect to the community and to the
mhm,
globe itself. So
mhm.
I just see input as one of those that is so resourceful with information right now that can help with well-being or donations or support or just community
Yeah,
involvement to feel like you're a
yeah.
part of something greater.
I think anytime there's a disaster, those folks with input, hopefully those that maybe have collected ways, like, hey,
Mhm.
here's ways collectively we can help.
Yes.
Is a great way to
Yes.
jump in and get that done. So, Jacqueline, thanks for working that through for us. With that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available now in Gallup Access. If you head out to gallup.com/CliftonStrengths for coaching, master coaching, or if you want to become a Gallup certified strengths coach, you can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Stay up to date with all the webcasts, although I made a mistake. We'll talk about it in the mid show. You can head out to gallup.eventbrite.com. Join us on any social platform by searching Clifton Strengths. And we want to thank you for listening today. If you are listening live, we'll do a little bit of mid show and you'll get to see some behind the scenes stuff. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.